Okay, so first things first. These are the for the attendance passcode for for today's class. So please you might not be able to take attendance until 1 p.m. So we still have a couple of minutes. So maybe try in a couple of minutes. If you are taking this course, if you are taking this class on Zoom, the passcode is AWQ lowercase l f2. Okay, so so do that, and in the meantime, I'm going to write a couple of things on the board. Okay. Are you guys in class? Are you guys able to take attendance? Okay, good. Yeah, let's wait. Take a couple more minutes for attendance. Okay, you guys, those of you who are out there in Zoom, are you able to take attendance?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if you just came into class right now, those of you who are in class, please take a moment to take attendance, and then we'll get started. the attendance? Yeah. Okay. Well, what about you? Sorry, I don't know the name. The one in the blue tank top.
Devin?
Yeah. I see taken the.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay. Okay. Right. Let's get started. Okay. So we are still on the subject of philosophy of religion. As I mentioned on Tuesday, there are basically three major arguments for the existence of God. We basically took care of the first one on Tuesday. Tuesday we looked at Saint Anselm's version of the argument. There is actually another version by Descartes, which is also very interesting. I might talk about it some more. I might talk about this when if we have time today. But I want to talk about this 2 and 3. So we should probably talk about 2. In case we, just to be sure we can talk about it. So the cosmological argument. The first part of this cosmological is cosmos. So basically the cosmological argument is an attempt to prove that God exists by talking about the universe and the origin of the universe. Because cosmos, right? Cosmos means universe. So basically there's actually more than one form of the cosmological argument. So there's actually more than one form of the cosmological argument. I think in the textbook, they actually presented 2 forms of the cosmological argument. So the first form that we're going to have a look at is what we might sometimes call the efficient cause argument. Sometimes also called the argument from first cause. Okay, and then the second form is argument from necessity and contingency. Okay, let that sink in for a moment. So the argument from efficient cause and the argument from necessity and contingency. I'm going to erase this second thing for just so I can have more space to talk about all of this, to talk about stuff. Okay, write this down if you have to, and then I'll erase it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, gone. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to focus on this, and then we'll maybe talk about the other argument, the efficiency and contingency, necessity and contingency later. But this one is actually quite, it's quite commonsensical and it's kind of easy to follow. The idea is that, okay, imagine that this, I'm going to draw a circle here, and imagine this circle represents the universe right now. Right, everything that is existing in the universe right now is in this circle. Imagine, okay. Now, things don't just be they didn't just come to be the way they are right now from nothing, right? Things didn't just pop into existence from nothing. So, in order for the universe to be the way it is right now, there has to be a previous state, a prior state of the universe. Okay, and then again, this didn't just pop into existence from nothing. There has to be another prior state of the universe. So basically, there has to be another prior state of the universe that caused this state, which then caused this state. So the arrow means causes. And then this is well, and then this again, this prior state of the universe couldn't have just popped into existence. There has to be yet another prior state of the universe. Okay. Okay. And then you kind of get a picture. Again, this prior state couldn't just have popped into existence. So there has to be another prior state. And yet there are so many more circles. Now, Aquinas, all of this comes from St. Thomas Aquinas. So Aquinas would say that, this prior state that came just before the one that's right now, he calls this the ultimate cause, and then this is an intermediate cause. This is an intermediate cause. So there's one ultimate cause, and there are many intermediate causes. But then he says, look, this can't go on forever. It can't go on all the way. It can't go on for infinity. So at some point, there has to be one thing. There has to be one thing that's got this whole thing started. And this one thing is called the first cause. The simplest way to understand what's going on is to say that well, in the first place, there has to be a first cause, and this first cause is God. Okay, and since there has to be a first cause, and only God can be the first cause, okay, you might be wondering why? Why is it that only God can be the first cause? Let's try to answer this question later. But for right now, right, if you accept that there has to be a first cause, and if you also accept God is the first cause, then you have to accept that God exists, because God has to serve the function of being the first cause. So basically, this is is one way to explain. It's one way to explain the what do you call it? Is to explain the existence of the universe as it is right now by appealing all the way to a first cause, which is God. Okay, so that's why this is called the first cause argument. Okay, so right. Hopefully you understand this. It's pretty straightforward. Now, so you saw what you just saw is the pictorial representation, the picture version of the argument. I'm going to show you. Right now I'm going to show you the. Oh, okay. Yes. So sorry, I'm going to answer a couple of questions from Zoom. Yes, I'm going to take pictures of what is on the board. In fact, thanks for the reminder. I'm going to do one right. I'm going to take one picture right now. And then, yes, I do also normally post them on Moodle. Okay, let's take a picture of this. Okay, it will be on Moodle sometime this afternoon. All right, so okay, let me post something on the screen that everybody can see. Okay, so what you're seeing on the screen right now is basically is basically the argument form of what you just saw on the whiteboard. So this is the Aquinas argument from efficient cause. So there are several, I'm breaking this down into a whole bunch of premises because it is, you will see that, in order to understand what somebody is saying and to see where he's going, it's usually important to kind of get a sense of what his assumptions and what his premises are. So the argument from efficient cause, according to Aquinas, it goes something like this. We start from number one. Nothing can come from nothing. Right? The universe didn't just pop into existence from nothing. Nothing can be the cause of itself. Okay, why? And then we come to number four. Why? Because for X to cause Y, X must exist before Y. So in order for something to be the cause of itself, in order for Y to be the cause of itself, then Y would have to exist before Y. right? So if, in order for me to be the cause of myself, I would have to exist before I existed, and that's impossible. So, so I cannot possibly be the cause of myself, because I cannot possibly exist before myself. So similarly for everything in the universe, in order for, if everything in the universe were to be the cause of itself, then the universe would have to exist before the universe existed. That's impossible. So the universe must have been caused by something. The universe as it is right now must have been caused by something that is not the universe that, as it is right now. In other words, Y has to be caused by X, which is not the same as it, as it. So right. So again, this might seem like a very trivial point, but it's important. Okay, and then let's go on. Again, now number 5, nothing can go on to infinity. So I wrote that. I wrote that on the board just now. And why? Why can't anything go to infinity? Number 7, because I'm caused by something, and that something is caused by something else, etc. And if this were to go on to infinity, there would not be a first cause which causes the thing which causes me. Therefore, in order for there to be me, there has to be a first cause. That first cause is God. Therefore, God exists. Okay. Let's see. How do I start talking about this? Well, there are a few objections and concerns about this argument that can be brought up. But here's one. So if nothing can be the cause of itself, remember this is point number 1. Nothing can come from nothing, and nothing can be the cause of itself. So if nothing can be the cause of itself, then God, the first cause, also can't be the cause of itself. So something else would have to cause the first cause. In other words, something would have to cause God, which means the first cause would no longer be the first cause, since something else came before it. Okay. So here's something to think about. I mean, is this so one way to knock down this, one way to kind of knock down this whole argument, philosophy, unfortunately, modern philosophy, we are very much in the business of knocking down arguments. So if you want to score a cheaper win and knock down an argument, here's your chance, right? So one way to knock down an argument would say, look, oh, you just said that everything has to have a cause, nothing can cause itself. So if everything has to have a cause, then wouldn't the first cause need to have a cause as well? Wouldn't God need to have a cause as well? Yeah, but if God needs to have a cause, then something must come before God. And if something must come before God, then God isn't the first cause, right? So if God isn't the first cause, well, yeah. I mean, if God isn't the first cause, then either God doesn't exist, or maybe or God exists, but it's not all powerful since it's not the first cause. Which would kind of defeat the purpose of believing in God, because God is supposed to be all powerful. So okay, yeah. So I'm just going to put this out there, just to let you know that it's out there. One way to knock down this argument would be to say, look, I mean, if everything needs to have a cause, wouldn't the first cause need to have a cause as well? And if the first cause needs to have a cause, then then how can that be God? What would be the point of believing in a God? Okay, let's pause here for a second. Does God need to have a cause? I mean, I gave you one answer, right? Which is yes, he needs to have a cause, because God is, God is cause. I mean, no, God is a thing. God is a thing, just like, well, I shouldn't say he's just like anything else. He's all powerful, but even if he's all powerful, he's an all powerful thing. So if everything is a cause, God is a thing, so God also needs to have a cause. Right. So one answer is that yes, God needs a cause. Are there any other possible answers? Is there any way to kind of get out of this, get out of this by saying that God doesn't need a cause?
You could just say because he's the ultimate being or whatever, he doesn't have a cause. He does the causing, he doesn't need a cause.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. So if we are going to go that route, which sounds like it might work. I mean, you could just say whatever you just said, which is that he is the ultimate being, and being ultimate, he doesn't need a cause. But then somebody that's really annoying will come and ask you, what is it about being ultimate that exempts you from causation? Okay, here's a suggestion. I don't know if it works, but okay. This seems like a digression, but I promise you that it's a useful digression because we kind of go in a circle and then come back to this thing. Okay, here's the digression. Okay, I'm going to erase this and I'm going to talk about four kinds of causes in Aristotle. I will be writing this. I'll be taking a picture of this soon. But first, before the picture, there has to be the word, right? So what happens is that Aquinas, who came up with this argument, Aquinas was very much influenced by Aristotle, who came like 1,000 years before him. So Aristotle has, one of his interesting contributions to philosophy was this idea of the four kinds of causes. Okay, what are the four kinds of causes? They are the material cause, formal cause, and efficient cause, and the final cause. Sometimes people call this the teleological cause. Okay, so okay. Suppose, let me give you an example. So suppose I am a carpenter. Suppose I'm a carpenter and I'm in my workshop and I'm making a desk, right? Being the agent that actually makes the desk, I am the efficient cause, right? Because because without me there'll be no without my action there'll be no table. So the carpenter, the agent who actually, who does the action, the physical action to bring about the desk is the efficient cause. But besides the efficient cause, besides the presence of the carpenter, besides the physical presence of the carpenter, a few other things have to be in place, have to be around in order for there to be the desk. First, there has to be, in order for me to make a desk, I have to have the required materials, right? I need to have the raw materials. I need to have wood. You could also argue that I need to have tools as well. So the raw materials, the wood is the material cost of the desk. I know this is it's kind of a weird way of thinking because most of us do not think of the wood as the cost of the desk. But if you think about it, if you think of cost more broadly, if you don't just think of cost in terms of A causes B to happen, if you think of it more broadly if you think of cost more broadly as like being being indebted to, right? Then you will see that the table owes its existence to the wood. The desk owes its existence to the wood. The desk is indebted to the wood for its existence. So in that sense, the wood is the cause, is one of the causes of the of the desk. This might be too much information, but so the Greek word for cause is aikia, which means something like that which is responsible for. So if you think of cause, if you think of a cause as something which is responsible for something's coming into existence, then the wood is a cause, because the wood, without the wood, the desk wouldn't be able to come into existence. Okay, but moving on. In order to have a desk, in order to have a desk, I have to have an idea of the desk in my head before I make the desk, right? So Aristotle would say that I need to have the form. I need to have the form of the desk in my mind. I need to have the mental form of the desk in my head before I can go about making the desk. So the image or the form of the head that is in my desk is called the formal cause. So the form or the image is the formal cause. And then finally, in order for the desk to come into being, there must be a purpose. There must be a purpose for making the desk, right? Nobody just makes things just for the sake of making them. And the purpose for the desk might be, well, it serves as a furniture. It serves as a piece of furniture for me to write on, for me to put stuff on. So the final cause, the purpose for which is the purpose for which you make the desk. Everything that exists in the world, everything that is made in the world is made with a purpose. So in a sense, the desk owes its existence to the purpose for which it's created. Because if there were no purpose, if the purpose did not exist, the desk wouldn't have come into existence. It's almost like a kind of backward. It's almost like a kind of backward causation thing. First you have the purpose, right? I have a purpose, and then I have an image of a desk in my mind, and then I kind of work backwards and use the material that is at my disposal to bring into the world things that are in accordance with this purpose. So for Aristotle, right? For Aristotle, there are actually four things. When you look at anything that is made by man, there are actually four things that can count as the cause. Most of us in this present day and age, most of us only think of number three when we are thinking of causes. We are only thinking of the agent. We are only thinking of the agent that does the action to bring about the cause. We are not really thinking of much else. So let me take a picture of this. Okay, I feel a little bit bad for the people out there in the in Zoom. So what I'm also going to do is to basically put in chat basically type the four causes in chat for everybody. So there are four kinds of causes according to according to Aristotle. Material cause, formal cause, efficient cause, and what else? And final cause. Okay, so you might be wondering, what has any of this got to do with the, the cosmological argument or the first cause argument that we just looked at? Let me put it up again. I apologize for the slowness of this, but philosophy is slow. Okay, so what has this got to do with the final cause? With the first cause argument that we're talking about? Okay, think about it this way. Maybe God is as the first cause, right? So far when I was drawing all those circles just now, the current state of the universe, the prior state of the universe, and all that. All those circles represent a chain of efficient causes, right? The prior state of the universe acted in such a way as to bring about the current state of the universe. Okay, but maybe God is not an efficient cause. God is a cause, but but he's not an efficient cause. He is another kind of cause. Okay, let me pose a question to you. If God is not an efficient cause, which of the other three kinds of causes do you think he is? Yes, I need to remember people's names. What is your name?
Riley.
Riley? Okay.
I can give you a formal cause, but if no one's ever really seen him, right? Then it's only the image that you see.
Yeah, it could be a formal cause. Yeah, because nobody's ever seen him. He's often represented, although he's often represented as a old man with white robes. But well, maybe that's just our representation. Interesting. Okay. Again, come back to the idea of the carpenter, right? When a carpenter makes a desk, he has an image of the desk in his mind. Okay, and that's the formal cause. When God makes the world, similarly, when God makes the world, I suppose you can also say that God has an image of the universe in his mind. And so that image of the universe will be the formal cause. But if that image of the universe is the formal cause, and that image is in God's mind, then God, what I'm saying is that then God wouldn't be that image, right? God would be the mind. Okay. So maybe the image, the formal cause is not God. God is not the formal cause. God would be. I don't think he's the material cause either, because material cause is just the stuff that the universe is made out of. So he's not the material cause, and it's also not the formal cause. So we have eliminated these two. He's also not the efficient cause, because, well, because we just found out that if he's the efficient cause, then we will have to ask who was the efficient cause of him. So he's probably not the efficient cause either, which leaves us with only the final cause. So what is final cause? So final cause is the purpose. Can we say, does it make sense? Does it make sense to say that just as the table, desk, just as the desk is made for the purpose of writing on, the world is made for the purpose of God. Brendan?
You might be able to say, like, the purpose of being perfect, I guess. That's not quite what I mean, but I don't know how else to say it. Like the purpose of the universe is created to become more perfect, kind of like God's purpose of. I don't know, that's the way I can put it, but it's not coming out quite as right.
It's actually an interesting idea. I know you don't think you're putting it very well, but sometimes good ideas are difficult to express. Okay, so you're basically saying that you know, if you think of God as being a perfect being, then yeah, if you think of God as being a perfect being, then you might also say that God creates things that are in line with what He is, perhaps. And so if God creates things that are in line with what He is, and He is a perfect being, then God would create things with the purpose of making them perfect. Or yeah, maybe let's just go with this. So God will create things with the purpose of making them perfect, or maybe with the purpose of, because the problem is that the moment I say this, I realize that, you know, if God creates the world with the purpose of making it perfect, but the world, as you know, I mean, as we know, is not perfect, wouldn't that be a problem? But maybe God, maybe you can say that maybe God is not making the world perfect from the beginning, from the get-go. Maybe God is making the world with the purpose of making it more and more perfect, like an evolution kind of thing. Okay, so if God is a perfect being, and He so if God is a perfect being and He brings things into the world with the purpose of making them more perfect, the trouble is that everything that we are talking about so far, it still makes God sound like an efficient cause, right? Because God brings things into the world, so God is doing something. He is bringing things into the world. And once you say that, then you have to ask yourself, then you're back in the same problem. You have to ask yourself, well, if God is bringing things into the world, then who brought God into, who brought God into the world?
This thought just kind of came in my head as you said that. Maybe like you could say like the efficient cause is nature, I guess, like that, or some other thing that is nature, while nature is trying to create things that have the purpose of becoming perfect by God. So God is like the purpose, whereas nature, whatever you think nature is the efficient cause.
Interesting. Yeah, that could be. So, okay, got to write this down. So God is the purpose. I don't know why I feel like adding an exclamation point, but okay, God is the purpose. Okay, so God is the purpose, and nature, whatever is going on in nature is an efficient cause. Okay, I mean, I'm just paraphrasing, I'm just repeating what I just said. Okay, so if God is the purpose, that actually sounds very interesting. So if God is the purpose, and God is the, God is the purpose. Okay, so we are brought into this world in order to, if God is the purpose, if God is the purpose of things, right, then that means that we are in this world in order to either become God or to become godlike. Cool. So again, right, with the desk, if the purpose of the desk is for you to write on, and the purpose of us being here is for us to become God or become godlike, then God, it kind of, I mean, all of this kind of, it makes sense, but it only makes sense if you are willing to accept that God is the purpose, which means that God is not, He's not an efficient cause, right? We have ruled this out, we have ruled this out, we have also ruled this out. So God is not an efficient cause. So if God is not an efficient cause, that means that He's not the kind of being that takes action to bring things about. He's not like a carpenter. He's not shaping stuff in a way that a carpenter is. He's the purpose. We come into this world and then we try to become God or become more godlike. So God is not. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you think of God's purpose, then it kind of flies in the face of everything that we normally think about when we think about God. Right? Because when you pray to God, and ask God for blessings and all of these things, or ask God to answer your prayer and all that, well, I mean, He can only answer your prayer if He is out there listening to your prayer, if He's like a person, right? But if He's not a person, if he's not an agent, but if He's a purpose, then then it will be very weird to pray to God and ask God to answer your prayers, right? So if we accept that God is the purpose and not somebody who answers prayers, then it looks like we will have to really change our understanding of God.
Another thought. I know that like in the Bible it describes they say that Jesus was a carpenter, and so just thinking of that makes me almost think if you believe that God and Jesus are two different beings, whereas some religions think they're one. If you think they're two different beings, you could say that Jesus is the carpenter with the God still being the final cause. That just came in my head.
Right. And so why does why is Jesus a carpenter? Is he a carpenter because it's it just happens to be the trade that he was trained during his lifetime? Is that why?
I have no idea. I just know that he's a carpenter in the Bible.
Okay, because I really I don't know as much about the Bible as I would hope as I would like to, but it could just be an innocent fact of history that Jesus happened to have been in the world, and he had and that because he's in the world, he needs to have a trade, right, to get by. So just as I chose the trade of being a teacher, he chose the trade of being a carpenter. So he got by, and then he discovered, lo and behold, that he's the Son of God. Well, so it could just be that being a carpenter is an innocent, innocent accident of history, or it could be that maybe Jesus is a carpenter because God, God requires him to be a carpenter in order to be, to serve as the efficient cause, to serve as the guy to bring things about. And what he, I think the main thing he brought about was to, die for our sins. And then it gets even better. Most people, I think most Christians believe in this thing called the Trinity, right? And the Trinity is, what is the Trinity? Okay, what is it? The Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. Okay, so, the Father is, so, but the idea is that the Trinity is, a lot of this is like kind of beyond my pay grade. I'm just bringing this in to talk about it. But the thing that's kind of confusing and mysterious about the Trinity is that they say that the Trinity is, there are three things, but they're not really three. The three things are actually one and the same thing. The Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. In other words, God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost. They are supposed to be three different things, but they are also one and the same thing. Okay, why are they one and the same thing? I don't really know. I'm just going to speculate that maybe they are one and the same thing because they are just three different ways that one and the same thing presents itself at different times. Okay, I don't know. But the reason why I'm talking about all this is because maybe if you are a Christian what you are trying to do is to find a way to explain how God can be the efficient cause and also be the final cause and be the formal cause all at the same time, right? Because if you are Jesus who is come into this world to fulfill a certain mission, bring about make some things happen, then you are the efficient cause. But you also came into this world to fulfill to fulfill a certain purpose, which is God's purpose. And God, maybe the idea is that God can't make anything happen because if God is a purpose, well, He's not a person, right? So you came into this world to represent, to make God's purpose happen. So you are making you're making the final cause happen, and then you are also a formal cause because you are making the world in God's image, or you can say that man is made in God's image. Okay. The reason why the whole thing is so mysterious and maybe weird is that if God the Father is the purpose, and Jesus is the final efficient cause and is the Son, how is it possible for a purpose to give birth to? How is it possible for a purpose to give birth to a son? Right, Father and Son, right? I don't know. I mean, I'm actually stuck. Do you have a suggestion?
Metaphor.
Huh?
It could just be a metaphor.
Could be. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, but you can see that what's going on, right? What's going on? Well, religion is not philosophy. So with religion, in religion, you don't have to have a rigorous logical explanation for every single thing. So if you are in the business of religion, or if you believe in religion, then maybe you can get away with saying that God, as in the mode of the Father, He is the purpose, and also the former cause. But in the mode of the Son, He becomes the efficient cause that makes things happen in the world. Okay. Were you making a suggestion? Were you saying something? Okay. I thought I heard a voice coming from somewhere. Okay, great. Now I'm hearing voices. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, if you are in the purpose, if you are in the business of religion, you can kind of come up with something like the Trinity to explain how it's possible for something to be the formal cause and the efficient cause and the final cause all at the same time. 3 in 1. But if you are in the business of philosophy, then things become more difficult because the same thing that will satisfy somebody who believes in religion. Somebody who believes in religion will be satisfied with the idea that three things, one thing can be all these three things at the same time. But if you are in the purpose of philosophy, if you are in the business of philosophy, this becomes confusing because you'll be asking how can, if the carpenter can only be the efficient cause and cannot be all three things at the same time, then how can anything be all three things be all three things at the same time? So the three things are formal cause, efficient cause, and final cause. Right? If I'm a carpenter, I'm the efficient cause, but I'm not the purpose. I'm also not, the image. I mean, there is an image in my mind, but I'm not the image. But now with the, with something like the Trinity, they want to be able to say that we are all three things at the same time, which which is very difficult to, which is very difficult to make sense of. Okay, let's see if the people over in Zoom. Well, there are lots of people in Zoom. Okay, those of you who are taking who are attending this class on Zoom, do you have any ideas, anything to say about everything that's gone on so far? Okay, no. Okay, I mean, I'm guessing it's no. Yes. What is your name?
Sorry, I wasn't raising my hand. I was scratching my head.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, well, since this is one thing that people sometimes complain about philosophy is that there seems to be no answers. But that's not true. There are answers. It's just that very often the answers are not very good. Or very often the answers are such that whenever somebody comes out with an answer, somebody else would have a rebuttal to that answer. So there is never a final answer. So it's not that there are no answers. It's just that there's never a final answer. So, okay. So I feel that I need to wrap up talking. I need to stop talking about this whole this whole cosmological argument. So maybe I'll just stop talking about the cosmological argument. I'll just say that, well, it looks like, based on everything that we have said so far, it looks like the only way to make sense of the cosmological argument, the only way God can be exempt from causation would be if God could be all of these three things at the same time. But I have no idea how to make God all of these three things at the same time. Maybe because I'm not a Christian. So what do you do? So then the challenge, right? Maybe the challenge for you, if you do believe in the first cause, if you think that the first cause argument makes sense, well, the challenge might be to find a way to combine all these three and make it make sense. Okay, but before I go on, let me just take a picture of this thing. Okay, as I said, we do need to move on. So let's move on to, okay, so I said earlier that there are actually there are two versions of the cosmological argument. The other version is the argument from necessity and contingency. That is an interesting argument, but instead of going on to that, I'm just worried that we might run out of time. So I'm going to skip forward and talk about the third argument for the existence of God, which is the argument from design, the so-called fine-tuning argument. Okay, so this argument is traditionally called the argument from design, but more recently, there's this philosophy professor at UT Austin, Corey Zhu, who has given it a new name, and he calls it the fine-tuning argument. But the idea is the same. Okay, this argument basically says, look, if you come across anything that is intricate, which has a bunch of parts which work together and fulfills a bunch of functions, it would make sense to believe that that this thing is probably made by somebody, is probably the result of intelligent design, and not just the result of some random process. So, right, if you were to come across a cell phone, right, even if you have never seen a cell phone before, but if you were to start tinkling with it and playing with it, you'll realize that you can do lots of things with this cell phone. So if you were to come across a cell phone, even if you don't know where this came from, even if you've never seen a cell phone before, you will probably, you'll probably believe, right? You'll probably believe that this cell phone was made by somebody intelligent, or somebody intelligent came up with the design for this cell phone, and then, and then maybe it was made in the factory. But whatever the case, if you came across a cell phone, you will conclude that a cell phone is the result of intelligent design. Okay. Similarly, if you came across something, if you were to come across something as complicated as the universe, right? Our universe is a really complicated place, and what's more, our universe is very complicated. It's so complicated that it can actually support life. So if you will come across something as complicated as the universe, which can support something as intricate as life, then it seems that just like with the cell phone, you would have to say that the universe is the result of intelligent design. The universe couldn't just have popped into existence randomly. It has to be somebody intelligent has to have designed the universe. I think you know where this is going, and the idea is that God is the intelligent designer. Okay, so that's the argument from the intelligent design argument. Very simple. Okay, so, but as I said, in philosophy, there are answers, but there are no final answers. So for every answer that somebody puts forward, there are bound to be objections or responses. Okay, so now the question is intelligent design the only way the universe could have come about? Jacob.
I remember this talk about probability, and that if you were to rip a book from all of its pages, if you drop it enough time, eventually all those pages will fall into the correct place in the correct position instead of being blown out everywhere like chaos. And that basically there is a chance that we were just lucky with our universe, and out of those thousands of possibilities of it being wrong, it just turned out to be right.
Interesting, yeah. So it could be, right, that either maybe there is a book somewhere, and in that book, it's a really weird book. There are many pages in the book, but only one page has words on it. So let's say the book has 300 pages, and so if you just randomly drop the book, it will open up on some random page, and well, by sheer probability, if you do this, if you drop it enough times, one of these days, you will at least once you will open up onto that page that has words on it. So maybe the universe is like that, maybe whenever maybe there's this guy somewhere. Maybe there's this guy somewhere who is in the habit of trying to create universes or creating universes, and so but he's not very good at it. So he mixes a bunch of chemicals together, and most of the time when he does that, all he gets is a bunch of random explosions. But again, by sheer probability, if he does this enough times, one of these days he's going to get it right. So one day he got lucky. Mixes a whole bunch of chemicals, randomly mixes a whole bunch of chemicals together, and lo and behold, instead of just a random explosion, he gets this chain of chemical reactions which results in life as we know it. So maybe God, right, or whoever it is that's creating the universe, maybe it is like this inept universe creator who just like the guy who drops the books many, many times and eventually gets it to fall on the right page with words. So maybe God is, or maybe God is like that. He is, he continually mixes chemicals. Most of the time he gets a bunch of random explosions, and then just this one time, he kind of gets lucky, and he manages to get a bunch of chemical reactions that leads to life as we know it. And here we are. And Corey Ju actually brings this up in his fine-tuning argument, right? He says that, look, the universe looks like a fine-tuned instrument from our point of view, but if there's more than one way to get at a fine-tuned instrument, one way is, of course, by intelligent design, but another way to get at this fine-tuned instrument is by luck. If you, again, same story, right? If you are a rather inept universe creator and you mix chemicals enough times, eventually you will luck out and get the correct and stumble upon the correct chain of chemical responses that leads to life. And so to make a long story short, it is just as likely that we are the result of a lucky experiment gone right as we are the result of a deliberate intelligent design. So, two possibilities, right? The first possibility is that God knows what he's doing. He deliberately designed the universe with us in it, just as somebody deliberately designed the cell phone. Second possibility is that God is, is just this rather inept universe creator who just keeps experimenting and eventually stumbles upon the right formula, which leads to us being here. Which possibility is more likely?
The lucky one.
Sorry?
Lucky, just being lucky, I guess.
Okay.
Just because, luck plays a big factor in just everything overall. Some people just have extremely good luck and achieve so much in life, where others not necessarily have bad luck, but it's bad time, I guess.
Yeah. So makes sense. So yes, so maybe it's luck. I was thinking about something when you were talking, but kind of slipped my mind a little bit. Lost my train of thought. Luck. Yeah, I was going to say, look, think about it. So here's, science, right? Science tells us about evolution, and it says, and evolution. So evolution doesn't need God. You don't need God to be in the picture in order for evolution to take place. So evolution basically just happened because, we basically happened because of a few lucky accidents, and then when intelligent life came about, there was natural selection. So if we can get to this point where we have a fairly intelligent species on this planet, just without God, just by evolution and natural selection, then I think it's very possible that it can also get to the same point with God, but with a God that is quite that doesn't really know what he's doing, but he just got lucky. So yeah, it's some based on so if you think about it this way, then God, the idea of a randomly the idea of a lucky God who got lucky is just as likely. It's just as likely as the idea of evolution that happens without God. So So the idea is why. The question is, so if the question is how, how does a fine-tuned universe like the one we have right now, how does the fine-tuned universe come about? Then it seems that there's at least three answers, right? The first answer is there is there is an intelligent creator. There is an intelligent creator who deliberately created this world, just like somebody deliberately created a cell phone. Or there is a sort of a creatorless, there's a creatorless process of evolution, which made the world the way it is today. So this is one, and this is two. But then there is three, which is what we just talked about, which is that there is a maybe rather unintelligent, unintelligent but lucky creator. It seems that there is at least one more possibility. The other possibility is that, that's number 4. The other possibility is that maybe there's not one creator. Maybe there's a team. Maybe there's a team of creators. I mean, again, right? Come back to the cell phone. People did just people didn't just, nobody just sat in his room and suddenly dreamt up the idea of a cell phone and then went to the lab and made the cell phone overnight, right? In order for this thing to come, in order for a cell phone like this to get to this level of technological sophistication, I don't know what model this is, but I'm sure there are several earlier models of this particular model of Samsung. So there's a bunch of people, right? There's a team of scientists or engineers at Samsung who are continually making phones, continually improving on their product. So, right, the earliest Samsung phone was probably a lot more basic than this, and then they just kept adding more and more features and all that, and then it became this, and then you'll get even better in the future. So, if that is the case with phones, couldn't it also be the case with the universe? Maybe the universe, maybe the universe was created in a lab by a bunch of gods, by a bunch of creators, and maybe the universe that we live in today is not the only universe, it's not the only intelligent, finely tuned universe that has ever been. Maybe there are earlier versions. Maybe this version that we live in right now is. Maybe it's 5.0 or something. Maybe there was universe version 1.0. Maybe there were lots of problems in the universe, and then the people who are working on this, who created this universe in the lab, said, that is a horrible universe. Let's scrap that. So they destroyed the universe, and then they created 2.0, and then 2.0 also had problems, so they destroyed the universe, and 3.0, and now we're at 5.0, which is maybe a bit hard to believe because we still have so many problems, but maybe 5.0, but maybe what we are right now is a better version of some earlier universe that was not so good. So the possibility here is that there's a team of creators that are continually creating updated versions. Creating updated versions of universes. Okay. Are there any? So far we have canvassed 4 possibilities for how we came to have the universe that we have. Any further possibilities? Jacob, do you think there are any further possibilities? Yes, sorry, Kelly.
Well, so the way I kind of see it is, the fine-tuned universe, like that argument comes about when and I feel like all of these kind of come about when we're looking for the idea that there has to be a creator. There was a quote in the textbook by David, Hume, I think is how you pronounce his last name. He says, perhaps the design in nature appears as such only to one who is already predisposed to believe in the designer. So it's the idea that if we're not looking for somebody to be the creator of the universe, if we don't tailor our mindset to the idea that there has to be the one thing that creates the universe and creates how our reality is, then maybe everything doesn't seem as finely tuned. Maybe it just seems like how it is. And I kind of like that idea because if we look at it in a more open-minded way, then we don't necessarily expect anything from it.
Yeah. So one thing you said was I think was very important, which is that the universe appears to be fine-tuned only because you are looking for only if you are looking for evidence of fine-tuning. Yeah, because if you are looking at it from the opposite, if you are looking at it from the opposite side, you could also say that this universe is a mess. Because there is, there are among other things, there are hurricanes.
Yeah, and it's like that idea that, like, even though we think that everything like lining up perfectly in our universe, like that's such a small possibility that's happening. If we look at it like, well, like what if this happened instead? It's the same probability. It's just how things end up playing out. So technically, it's not really a small chance of everything working out how it did. It's the same chance as everything else, but it just happened to be one way of it happening, if that makes sense, like one possibility of it happening.
Right. So tell me if I'm understanding you correctly. So the universe as it is right now is neither fine-tuned, it's not fine-tuned, or it's not really a mess either. It's just the way it is, and the way it is just one of many possible ways it could be. Okay. And that if we say that, when we say that it is fine-tuned, or when we say that it's a mess, it's only a mess or it's fine-tuned because we humans who live in the universe, we are it's only because it's fine-tuned or mess because we are putting a judgment on it.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, like the very first day of class, like, things are only bad because we view them as bad. But like if we were to focus on only the good things that happen to us, then we would think that our lives and that the universe was finely tuned for our success. But when we dwell on the things that go bad for us, then we think that, the universe is a mess. So when we just mix all those together, it just ends up being this combination of things that are finely tuned and things that are messed up, which is just how it is. If that makes sense.
It does. I mean, I have a question to this, but just trying to think of the best way to express it. Would you say that? So, if the universe as it is right now, suppose all of us humans were to suddenly disappear from this planet right now, would the universe then stop? I mean, would the universe just become not good or not bad place, but just indifferent, neutral?
Yeah, the way I see it is like humans are the primary species that can interpret things and, you know, put a judgment on things like you were saying. But if we were to like look at it from the view of like an animal where they don't really think as deeply about things, they don't judge things as good or bad, they just kind of go through life as it is, then like if we were to just completely disappear and then everything else were to stay the same, then the universe wouldn't be good or bad, it would just be how it is.
Right.
Because there's nobody there to like interpret it as such.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm just going to put this question up here. I don't really know if this is the best way to you know, express this question, but is the universe so? There is the universe. Okay, there is a universe that is without any human beings in it. The one that will happen, or what just disappeared right now. That universe, the universe that the universe that is empty of people. Is the universe that is empty of people? Is that the real universe, or is the universe somehow more real? When people come into the universe and make all these judgments about it and do all these things here.
I don't know, I feel like that's a hard question because it is up to interpretation by humans. So I think that it's a little bit of both, honestly, because even if we aren't here, I still believe that the universe would exist in its entirety, but we just wouldn't be here to consciously observe it. So technically it wouldn't be a reality because we can't observe it and we can't classify it as reality.
Yeah. I realize that it's 2:15, but I just have to say this one thing. The reason why I'm asking this question is because when we humans come into this world, we don't just come and populate this world and just take up space and resources. We also do things like, you know, create art and music and all these things, right? Like, I don't know what your favorite music is, but you know, maybe it's hip hop or jazz or whatever. So jazz can only exist, hip hop can only exist when we humans are here. And so I'm not even asking if the universe is a better place, is a better place than hip hop means, because I don't really care. What I'm really asking is, you know, is the universe plus hip hop and jazz somehow more real than a universe that doesn't have people at all, and therefore has no hip hop or jazz or any of these cultural things? Okay, sorry, I know you can't answer this question because it's time for me to let you go. Can somebody just like, maybe I'll write it down, but you know, can somebody just maybe put this question in their minds, and so we can think about it next time we meet? No, actually, we can't think about it because the writing assignment is on Tuesday. Well, Thursday. Thursday we are talking about the problem of evil, which is okay, because problem of evil also involves value, right? Because evil is value judgment. So yes, so maybe we can get to this next week. I mean next Thursday. Okay. Thank you very much. See you on Tuesday. Okay, so I'm just answering a question on Zoom. For those of you who are on Zoom, for the writing assignment, you can just take the assignment on Zoom. You have to have the video on so I can proctor you, and then you can either type your responses into a Word document or into an email, and then just email your responses to me, and that would be good. Thank you.